if you do all of those things, I think you can be whoever the fuck you want to be in like 18 months. Hey guys, welcome back to Be the Standard. Today I got a very special guest, a good friend of mine, Terry Wilson. He's a former Green Beret, husband, father, making a great impact in the online space in terms of his coaching business and other things that he's doing. And it's great to have you, brother.
Yeah, it's good to be here, man. It's kind of been a minute, man. Been
Yeah.
kind of talking for, about a year or so.
Yeah. I think we met about a year ago. Really started talking more closely about 6 months ago, 7 months ago.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's been great getting to know you and becoming friends with you. So
Yeah,
I appreciate you making this trip up
Oh.
to Nashville from Florida. But yeah, I mean, let's dive right in. I want to start with, I usually like to start with my guests and, tell me a little bit about your childhood, where you're from, what your upbringing was like, and we'll kind of take it away from there.
Yeah, so I was born in St. Louis, kind of raised around that area, St. Louis and St. Charles area. Pretty, I don't know, tumultuous, I guess you'd say, childhood.
Sure.
Yeah, so mother and father was pretty much a shotgun wedding,
Young?
Yeah, they were young,
Yeah.
like just like right out of high school. I remember seeing my old man with like a Trans Am, like that was whenever like Smokey and the Bandit was out.
All right.
So he's got like this Trans Am, long hair, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the average, like would you think somebody from like the 70s, 70s, 80s time frame. So
Nice.
So I was born in 79 there. And at that time, like he struggled with, alcoholism, right? Young, they trying to figure this shit out, living in like I remember some as a kid. Like, you remember, like, some things you can, like, remember, and some stuff you're like,
dude,
it's just gone.
Totally
right?
get that. There's some things that sometimes I'll pick up on that I'll remember that I've forgotten for 35, 40 years. Like, holy shit, like, where did that come from?
Yeah. So I remember, like, as a kid, like, toddler, like, we lived in, like, RVs.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, not even a trailer park.
Gotcha.
Like, in an RV park, like what you'd see, like, on Joe Dirt.
Yeah.
Like,
No shit, dude. Okay.
So we lived like that. And then they ended up getting divorced, obviously pretty young. It just didn't work out. My mother, he kind of went away for a long period of time. My mother was married. Man, I kind of lost track of how many times she was married.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it was like dudes like in and out. Like, you know what I mean?
And
like,
you were seeing all these dudes and stuff?
Yeah. Yeah, like this is, you know what I mean? Like 3, 4. After a while, I'm like, I lost track. Like, after I moved out, I lost track of like how many times she had been married. So that was kind of rough because you're like, every one of these dudes have a different kind of personality, who they are, and you're just like trying to kind of deal with that shit. So through, I would say, elementary school, I was I got like straight A's. I was actually pretty good kid, even through all of this,
Like well-behaved?
Pretty well-behaved, yeah, and academically good. Puberty hit, and I just turned a corner, man. I think at that point, you're trying to figure out, like, who you are.
Yeah.
And at that point, I really didn't have any kind of male figure to kind of really, like,
that's what I was going to ask. So this
look
whole time,
up to.
Your mom's going through, like, these guys.
Yep.
Is your dad in the picture? Or?
So he came in the picture. Like, he came back a little bit whenever I was, like, and I don't even know, maybe 8, 9, 10 years old. He came back for a little bit, and then he kind of went away again. It was kind of like back and forth, like, because he lived in Missouri for a while, and then he moved, like, to Colorado. Like, so he was kind of back and forth,
Gotcha.
And then he got remarried a couple times, and he had some other kids. You know what I mean? So, there was times to where, like, I will say he had a lot of positive things, you know what I mean? I would say as far as like guns, like I used to go out and hunt with them.
Nice.
So like my love for firearms and what, later on when I became a weapons sergeant, like that was one of the reasons. Like I used to hunt with them. Like he taught me like gun safety at a really young age.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So like that stuff kind of really stuck. Camping, like that, you know what I mean? So I had those interactions,
Yeah.
And sometimes, that's one thing I think as a parent, sometimes you're going to make mistakes. Sometimes it's not. It's the intentional things that you do that are positive sometimes that will leave the most lasting effect. Yep. You know what I mean? Like there's times where like he could have jacked up a whole bunch of shit, but he did some things that were right, and you're like, hey, I got to give him credit for it. He also I went and lived with him in Colorado, and I was probably maybe 12, 13 years old.
Okay.
And during the summertime, he put me on the back of a trash truck.
Really?
Yeah.
No
Like
kidding.
4 o'clock every morning, he put me on the back of the trash truck. This is like Colorado Springs, Colorado.
Yeah.
And I'd work on the back of that trash truck all day long.
Just picking up trash.
Picking up trash. Like
Riding
12,
the
13
back of the
years.
truck?
Riding
Oh,
on
hell
the
yeah.
back, like hanging off the back. And like to say that now, it doesn't even make sense. Like, how is that even possible, right?
Yeah.
So I did it for, I would say almost two or three summers. And then somebody called the child danger, like somebody called like DFS or DFS or whatever on him.
Yeah, DCF.
DCF, whatever it's
Yeah.
called, right? And so they called and they complained. They didn't take me off the route. Now they put me in the front of the truck. So every time we stopped to get trash, I'd have to get out of the truck,
man.
go to the back, and like pull the trash and then put it in the back there, man.
The funniest part about just listening to this whole thing is when I was a kid, I would watch the guys on the back of the trash trucks like riding back there. That's what I wanted to do for a living.
Yeah.
I wanted to work for the city and be a trash guy, and like probably until I was about 8 years old. Like that's what I wanted to do because I got to ride. I would be able to ride on the back of the truck.
Yeah, that's crazy, kind of how we see things, and we're like, oh, that's what we want to do.
Yeah.
So I remember one time, this was actually a pretty funny story. So people throw all kinds of shit away in the trash.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sitting in the back of the trash truck, and somebody's wife or somebody got in trouble, or somebody's husband, they threw a bunch of like dirty magazines in the back of the trash truck. So this time, luckily, there was another guy that was riding on the truck at that time. So here I am, I'm sitting in the back of the trash truck, right, looking at these dirty magazines, right, and I'm sitting on the back, and he hits a bump, right, and we're going down like a main street.
Yeah.
I fall off the truck, and luckily I turned around and grabbed the back of the truck, and I'm being drugged down the street, right? I'm being drugged down the street, and like from me to the pavement is like that far, right? And luckily there's like a button in the back of the trash truck, and like the guy that was there, luckily today he had somebody else because a lot of times I ran on the back of that truck by myself, you know, and he hit the button. And they stopped, and he came back there, and man, I caught shit for that for like forever.
That's crazy.
It's like,
wow.
But that was the 80s, man.
Yeah.
80s and 90s, you know?
Yeah, I think eventually they stopped allowing the riding on the back of the truck. You don't see that anymore.
I don't see that much at all.
Yeah, I
but
don't
let
know if
alone
they're
a
allowed
kid
to anymore.
Anybody under 18 years old. Like I'm thinking about that now. It's like there's no way. Like probably no city. I don't know. You probably might have some more rural areas that would probably get away with some of that stuff.
Yeah.
But this wasn't a big city. But I look at it back. I'm like, that was kind of ridiculous.
It's
But
crazy.
I mean, it gave you the work ethic.
Definitely.
Bro, I didn't get any days off. This wasn't like, oh, I'll take you to work sometimes in the summer. He worked me every summer that I stayed there from whatever. It was 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning. I got up and I worked all the way until that route was done every day.
Yeah. It's funny, too, how some of those jobs as a kid really do teach you how to work hard. Like I worked all through high school. I worked on a farm. And so I was up, and my friends were sleeping in on the summer and doing what they wanted to do. And I was getting up at 4:30, going to the farm every morning and working until 5. So I was working 12-hour days as a 16, 17, 18-year-old kid. But that's where I learned, like, shit, like, you got to work hard, and, you know, life's not easy. You got to earn shit.
Yeah, and that's the thing about, like, doing difficult things. Like, at the end of the day, as a kid, would I rather have, like, spent my time riding bikes or whatever?
Of course.
But without that discipline, I don't know if I would have made it through selection or made it to be a Green Beret or made it. Like, there's some foundational work that's done when you're a kid that helps lays the groundwork for that stuff, you know?
Yeah.
And talking about being on the farm, man, I baled hay for a while,
Same.
too.
Yep.
And, man, if you've never done that before and then put it up in the loft in there, that's a whole different, you know, in 90, and now that thing in there's like 140, 150 degrees in there.
Dude.
Whole different level of toughness.
That's the hardest thing I ever did growing up as far as a job was the hay. Stacking hay and, like, throwing hay bales when I'm, you know, 5'5", 5'6", at 16 years old, lifting hay bales at 80 pounds. I'm only 120, and throwing them up into the tractor. And then, like you said, stacking them in the barn. Like, that job builds character for sure. And then from there, I went to, like, milking cows, or not even milking, but, like, working on the dairy farm and doing all that stuff and cleaning up after the cows and stuff. But baling hay is the hardest thing I ever did as a kid. That was wild.
Yeah. So as much as, like, you know, there's things that were my wife like messes with me sometimes. Like we did like this personality test, and then it was like, how was your childhood or whatever, and she gets upset because my things came up pretty positive, and I'm like, babe, it's all about perspective, you know, on a lot of things, you know, and because I'm like, she's like, man, your childhood was, because she knows all the details of my childhood.
Yeah,
like
'cause
her childhood was bad,
Yeah.
but she's like, your childhood was even worse.
And you've known her since you were kids.
Yeah,
right?
we know. We met whenever, man, I was in middle school.
Yeah.
Met her at the bus stop whenever we were,
Crazy, dude.
yeah, like, man, 7th grade.
Nice.
Yeah. So it was like 7th, 8th grade, I think. So
That's crazy.
yeah, but like she's like, man, she knows my childhood, and I go, yeah, I go, but the thing about it is, much I don't mind telling like the truth, some of the negative stuff, but I try to give them credit for the things that they did right, you know, even if it's sometimes like.
That's important.
I think it is. Now, there's certain times I've heard certain people's stories kind of like that. Is like there's no credit to be given.
Yeah.
And there's no credit to be given. There's no credit to be given. Right? You know.
Yeah. Like my story, I never give. My biological parents get nothing.
Absolutely not. And it's 100% like deserved.
Yep.
You know. But at the same token, like from my side, I know they struggled with a lot. My mother struggled with addiction.
Sure.
You know, and we don't really talk at all. Still, like,
Oh, she's.
yeah, we don't talk really at all. But I still try not to beat her up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I try not to beat her up.
What's the point of that at
What's
this
the
point, right?
Yeah, what's the point?
Yeah.
So,
But no, it's important to like give the credit where it's due, but make sure that you're not giving it where it's not.
Oh,
due.
yeah,
My
exactly.
aunt gets all the credit for me because she adopted me, she raised me, and that's it. My biological family, nothing.
yeah.
Nothing. And I'm okay with that.
Yeah, exactly. You know. But, you know, you start looking at some of the stuff and, like, you know, kind of getting down, you know, when the adolescence years came, you know, I started rebelling a lot, you know.
Tell me about that.
So.
Because those are your most impressionable years.
It is.
And if you make the wrong choices, like we talked, I made one bad choice. If I had made that choice as an adult, I would have went in jail and it would have changed my entire life.
Yeah.
So talk to me about that, because those are your impressionable years, and all it takes is one mistake. And
yeah. So all of that good things, all those hard lessons that I learned, like that pre-adolescent time frame, you know, were, you know, working hard, good grades, and all that stuff. You know, my dad kind of went out of the picture as my teenage years. He really kind of wasn't around. Man, I just kind of just started going downhill, you know. My mother,
like hanging around with the wrong crowds, that kind of thing? Or?
Hanging around with the wrong crowds, like selling drugs, stealing, anything from like stealing, burglaries. Like, yeah, it was kind of pretty wild.
Yeah.
You know, I was at times I was moving narcotics. Like,
damn.
I was had my hands in a lot of shit that I shouldn't have been. You know,
Sure.
And
you
so
how old? Like
teens? Teens. You know. And then with that, you know, it comes that other thing. Like, I had a lot of anger, a lot of upset, you know, a lot of resentment. So that comes with, you know, I was a big guy, big thing about respect, you know. And you get in that kind of place, people don't have respect.
Yeah.
Right? So, like, then that comes with a lot of fights. And then, you know what I mean? So, a lot of fights when I was a kid.
Yeah.
A lot of fights.
Dude, same.
Yeah.
So I didn't move drugs or any of that shit,
Yeah.
but I was a punk, and
Yeah.
I fought. That was kind of my thing. It turned into it, but yeah, man.
So, anywhere from, you know, I'll tell one story because it's actually pretty good story. So, try to keep it as best as possible. So we were at one block party, and we were from out of town. Right, we're on the dance floor. I end up getting into a fight with some guy. Like, you know how fights start. Like, something you don't even know how they start. Right.
Yeah.
Next thing, somebody's in somebody's face. Next thing you know, you're at it. Right. So me and him are going at it. And next thing I know, obviously the guy that I got into it with was from that neighborhood, and everybody knows him. So here comes all of his friends, man. And I start getting the shit kicked out of me. So I end up getting the guy in a headlock. And I'm like, my thought process is if I'm going to get my ass whipped, I'm putting somebody in the hospital with me. Like, that was my thought process. So, like, so I got this guy in a headlock, and I'm holding on to him. I'm cracking him. Next thing I know, somebody's behind me and has got like a mag light. There's a cop behind me, put a mag light on my throat, and he's like choking me out, right? So he like, hey, I'm trying to stop the fight. So he stops the fight. then I leave out of there. As I'm leaving, my now brother-in-law, he's like pinned up against a fence, and he's getting the shit kicked out of him, right? So we run over there. I run over to him and like try to get through there, help get him out of there. We get out of there, we leave, right? Banged up, but pretty good. Some knots on the head. Face is kind of messed up a little bit. The next day, we see one of the guys at the gas station, and he's solo, right? and he's like, "Hey, I think that's one of the dudes that were at that place." And I was like, "Yeah, I think he is too." So we pull up. He comes out of the store, and he's up against his truck, and I cracked him. And when I hit him, it was probably one of the times, you can feel, like sometimes you get in a fight, like obviously sometimes whenever you throw a punch, it's not connecting on the first one. You may miss or whatever, right? But this one was a pretty good, hit him pretty good. And he was against his truck, so there's nowhere for the force to go.
Yeah.
So the force went from my hand to his face to now the back of his truck, right? So he crumbled, like right then, right? Hit the ground, and then he left. Like we left the scene. We went back home. About an hour later, 3 trucks pull out in front of like his dad's place. We were over at his dad's house. And so we're over at his dad's house, and there's 3 trucks, and they got like bats and pipes and everything else. They come out and they start screaming, "Get out here, we're gonna whip your ass," all this sort of shit, right? So we're like, all right, here it is. And I'm probably 16, maybe. Wow. 16 years old, maybe 15, 16. Bradley is like 14, 15. Oh, Jason, who's younger, is about 12, 13 years old. And then Chas's dad's there, Davey. He's in his 30s or whatever. There's another adult there who left. He's like, I'm not getting involved with this.
Really?
Right? He left. So Davey's like, hey, grab a weapon. So here I go. I grab a butcher knife out of the kitchen, right? Bradley grabs a baseball bat, right? And then Jason grabs a stick, and we go outside. So here it is. Grown man, a 16-year-old, a 14-year-old, and a 12-year-old, like, hey, what do you got? Let's go.
Wow.
And I'm like sitting there, like, you think about it now, and I'm like, what are we doing?
That's
like,
insane.
That's insane. It's totally insane, right? So the guys, as soon as they see us, they're like, all right. They started backing off.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they backed off. Luckily, they backed off because that would have been bad.
That would have been bad for
everyone. We would have been, everybody involved, we would have got murdered.
Yeah, dude.
Like, there's no way. I don't care how tough you think you are.
No.
Like, 3 carloads of grown men, like these guys are in their 20s, 30s, we would have got destroyed. You know what I mean?
Thankfully, somebody had some sense to be like, nah, this isn't good.
Yeah. Well, at a point, you show up and you got a bunch of kids there with knives, because that's all we were with children. You know what I mean? Somebody's like, obviously, these guys are not this.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
That's,
so just kind of I tell that story because that's just like I don't know if it was the Midwest or just kind of the upbringing where it is, but like that kind of stuff was like a normal.
Really?
Yeah, those things were like So
all
that's
right.
kind of.
So we get past that, right? Where Terry's no longer the adolescent who likes to fight. You graduate high school.
No, actually, I didn't.
You didn't?
So
okay.
I went through high school, and I was living with my mother, and like she wasn't really working that much. And then I dropped out of school to try to help get a job to help pay some of the bills at the house. And then I just started working, and then I met my wife, right? And then that kind of like we were still dating or whatever.
Sure.
We kind of back and forth like since middle school. And then from there, I got my GED only because I was going to go in the service.
Okay.
So that was whenever, because I go in there, the recruiter, like, hey, listen, I want to join the Army. And they're like, bro, you ain't even got a high school diploma.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
So did they put you through like the GED program?
Yeah, so they put me through the GED program. They're like, hey, this is the book you need to study. Mm-hmm. So they gave me the book to study. And then they're like, hey, then while you're studying that, study for the ASVAB too.
Yep.
So then from there, the recruiter helped me like kind of go through all that process to get my GED.
Nice.
They got my GED, then took the ASVAB, and then joined the military.
Nice. So, all right. So now we're at the point where you joined the military. Tell me about that process, why you joined, and then kind of what your military career.
So for me, the military was a way. So at this point, when me and my wife got married, we already had 2 kids.
And how old are you there?
I was like 20. I think I was 20 years old. We already had 2 kids.
Wow.
Right. We bought our first house. I was like 18 years old.
Wow.
When we bought our first house. It was a total shit. It wasn't a nice house.
Sure.
but like we had to get something, right? So that point I was working like from job to job, but I'm like, I wanted to get my family out of that situation. And the military was my, like, you know how it is, right? You live your whole life a certain way, and now you're trying to raise a family, and you're like, okay, I don't want to be this person anymore.
Yeah.
But you're still around that environment. You have to change something.
Something that's if nothing changes, nothing changes.
Exactly. So you're like, all right, we got to change something, and it had to be the environment and where we're at.
Yeah.
You know, nothing against the guys or people that live there, but it's just at the end of the day, like I got to change something if I want something different for my family, or they're going to fall into the same like lifestyle that they are. And I look back home, and a lot of the kids there that have kids that we know are family members are either addicts, multiple kids, like they're not went anywhere. You know what I mean? So that's why I joined the military. That was the main focus.
All right. So what job did you pick, and how'd you end up?
Oh yeah. So I went to the MEP station. I think I told you about this story. So I went to the MEP station, and when I originally got there, I had no clue what I wanted to do. Like I really didn't understand like the different jobs in the military. But this was pre 9/11, right? So my thought was like adrenaline.
You joined like a year right before 9/11?
So I did the delayed entry program. So it was a few years before. I got to my unit 1 year before September 11th.
That's what it was. Okay.
Yep. But when I went to the MEP station, it was like a few years before.
Okay.
Because then I had a delayed entry program. Because I went to MEP station, joined, and then we had our wedding slotted after that. So I'm like, hey, I still got to get married before I want to get married before we join the military.
Sure.
You know. So I show up to the MEP station, and originally they're like, hey, you can do underwater welding, right? Underwater welding. He's like, or you can be a commo guy. The only thing I knew from the commo guys were like, hey, those are the dudes that just got killed first in war. Like, because that's every war movie. You said they got their can up there, they're talking, they get their head blown off. I'm like, why would I want to do that? You know? So, but this was pre-war, and you know, I heard all these stories about infantry to where you're like cleaning weapons and you're not doing anything. Like, you know what I mean? I'm like this. So I wanted to see action. So I was like, what about MP? And they're like, nah, it's not available. So I was like, I walked out of the MEP station. And then but before I got to the door, the recruiter called me and was like, hey, listen, they're going to give it to you. So I went back. I signed up for MP, and then went to the MP route.
Yeah.
So did that, deployed as an MP. I went to Qatar, and then I went to Qatar twice, and then I went to Iraq once the war kicked off.
Oh, so you went to Iraq, what, like 03 or 04?
Yeah, I went to Iraq right during the initial invasion.
Okay.
Of Iraq. But I was like behind the flat.
Sure.
Right, so we didn't see any action like where the infantry and all those guys up there were pushing through. Like we were behind those dudes, right? Gotcha. So like all I seen was like all of the souls they left behind as they're kind of going through, right? So like you're like all the destruction and shit as they were kind of going through. So I got up there, and then we were attached to a SF team, and those dudes were running and gunning, and I'm like, bro, that's what I want to do.
Yep. So
once I seen those dudes, I'm like, all right. As soon as I got back from that deployment, that's when I went to selection.
Gotcha. Talk about walk the viewers through selection.
Selection was interesting for me because,
and for the viewers, selection that's the process to become a Green Beret. This is all the things you need to do, the steps you need to take to officially become a Green Beret.
Yeah, that's the first step to where they decide whether they want to invite you to go to the qualification course.
Yep.
So, and then it's changed over the years, but I would say it's a little bit under a month. I don't know if it's 21 days, 27 days. I think it's changed a little bit, but so I trained for selection before I went.
Yeah.
I put in my head that selection was going to be this such hard, unattainable thing that whenever I got there, wasn't that it wasn't hard and there wasn't times where I'm like, this is very difficult, but because I made it so difficult in my mind when I did it, it wasn't as difficult as what it was that I did. But it really was an eye-opener to me that when I went there were guys quitting on the first day. Mm-hmm. There were guys, if it rained, guys were quitting. I'm like, what are y'all doing, man? Like, what'd you expect?
Yeah.
You know, that was my initial time.
Did you think it would never rain when you were a Green Beret?
what are you here for? Like,
Yeah.
why did you come here?
Yeah.
And it was my initial time, like, where I understood, like, people think they want something, but they're not willing to pay the cost to get it.
Yeah. I say that all the time, man. Everybody, they think they want the thing until they, realize how much time, energy, and effort's required to get the thing, and then they don't want it anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, you may want the thing until you realize how much it costs,
Yep.
and then you're like, nah, I don't want it anymore.
Exactly.
Right. So
and that's what happened with those guys. They're like, I bet that'd be cool to wear a Special Forces tab and have a Green Beret, but then they get a taste of what it actually means to achieve that, and they're like, maybe this isn't for me.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was my first. I was just like, man, this is ridiculous. I could not believe that.
Yeah.
So the attrition rate, where they talk about, the attrition rate's so high. Part of the attrition rate's so high is because people quit. They just quit on themselves before they even get a chance to be evaluated, and you're just like.
Do you think it's more of people quitting or more people failing the course?
So it's a little bit of both.
Yeah.
Obviously it's
Do you
both.
think there's more of one? I've always wondered that myself.
I think more people quit on themselves
Sure.
before they get even a chance to be evaluated.
And that's what I was thinking too. That's why I asked the question, because I don't have any data on that, but you did 25 years there, so I figured you might know.
So, I was an instructor, but I was an instructor at the weapons committee and not at like selection or that initial portion of it.
Sure.
So I don't know what that data is. I'd have to ask some of the CSMs I still have like some contact with that are out there and try to figure out what that is. I'd be interested to kind of know that for sure.
They definitely have it.
Oh, they definitely have it. They know exactly what those numbers look like.
That's crazy.
But the amount of people that just quit just like totally astounded me. So, and don't get me wrong, there were hard things there.
Yeah.
It's
designed to be that way.
It's designed to be that way. It's supposed to be that way,
Just like life.
Yeah. So then whenever, talking about quitting, we had a guy when we were in in Q course, they have what's called small unit tactics. It's kind of like I would equate it to like a mini ranger school.
Sure.
All right. One of the instructors there was telling one of the students, you're going to fail. I'm not going to pass you. The kid quit, and I'm sitting there. I'm like, why are you quitting? He's like, the instructor said I'm not going to pass. I'm like, that's not – you go to the end, and at the end they're going to tell me I didn't make it. I'm not going to let somebody decide my fate because he says he's not going to let me pass.
Change his mind.
Change his mind, or like at the end of the day, I'm going to the end, and then somebody's going to come there and tell me they're going to give me a piece of paper saying you no-goed or whatever. But at the end of the day, I'll know for sure.
Exactly.
But that shit used to happen all the time, and I'm just like, man,
that's a mind game too.
it's a total mind game.
Like he's telling you he's not going to pass you for a reason. Maybe he really hates you.
Yeah.
But a lot of it probably is that he doesn't. He's trying to test you. He wants to see what you have.
Hard telling what he thought.
Exactly.
But it's not my decision to decide what you think. I'm going to
Exactly.
do what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm going to do what I came here to do.
Right.
Are you kicking me out now? If the answer is no, then thank you very much. I'm going to move on.
Exactly. And so you go through selection. You were A-Team Bravo, so weapons sergeant
weapons
on the
sergeant.
team.
Yep.
Talk to me about like that job, that training, and then right through the process of donning the Green Beret for the first time.
Yeah. So, I loved like the weapons and the tactics portion of it. There's opportunities as a Green Beret to do other like specialties, but I love that so much. I pretty much stayed with that because as a A-Team Bravo, you're responsible for all the team's training.
Yeah.
Right. Not just weapons training. Then when you get down range, you're responsible for all the partner forces training. Right. You're down there. If you're kicking indoors, your partner force, either your partner force is going in first and you're going in right after them. So, like, you're one of the first guys. Like, I'm always number one in the gun truck, always number one going in. Like, so you're number one on all this stuff. So,
Sure.
like, bro, I loved it, because that's, for me, I took all of that. We talk about trauma, right? We talk about all this trauma that you have as a kid or through life and these difficult things you do. And where do you put that at? That's why people are ultra marathon runners. That's why people do all these difficult things and they test themselves and they beat themselves up or they chase adrenaline or they're jumping off cliffs and all this other shit. A lot of that has to do is because you're trying to feel something. You're trying to control the uncontrollable.
Yeah. Right.
I am in control of my own mind. I'm going to push my body. You know what I mean? So you're trying to control all these things. So I love that portion of it, And I got into it, and I love the warrior mindset. I loved getting after it. we'll talk about that later. We talked about that before. There's like the dichotomy of like loving war and hating it.
Yeah.
You can love it and hate it together,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a very complex, like, kind of.
It's just a cocktail of emotion that is just, yeah.
Yeah.
It's almost unexplainable almost. We were talking about this last night.
Yeah.
Like so many. It's like two very different extremes. Just
and they're fighting against each other.
Yeah.
Like constantly.
Mm-hmm.
But I will say, while I was in war, I loved it
Mm-hmm.
until I wasn't. Or then, same thing is like, combat is like, I'd explain it to somebody, a civilian. It's like getting in a fight, or if you're in combatives, it's a great time when you're winning. It's not so much fun when you're getting the shit kicked out of you.
Sure.
When the reality of like your friends are being killed and like that, like, but you really don't understand that. When you see these young guys that are in there, like, I want to get after it. I want to get after it. I want to go to war. It's like, be careful what you wish for, buddy, because it'll happen and it's going to change you forever.
Yeah. No, that's the thing. Like, you're like, yeah, I want this. I want that adrenaline rush. I want to be tested in combat.
Yep.
And then it happens and you're like, I want this shit to end.
Yep.
I just want to be okay. I want my buddies to be okay. Let's get through this. That's all I care about. And it's like you said, is you sometimes you get what you want.
Yeah. So I was at 18 Bravo like that. I loved that job. And then from there, I did pretty well. I got promoted I stayed pretty competitive.
Mm-hmm.
I was actually really quick. I made 7 in 7 years, which was pretty fast. But I was at E7 for like 7 more years.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, so like at 14 years. And then like I was ready to be a team sergeant of E8, and it took a little bit longer. I went to be an instructor at the 18 Weapons Committee, 18 Bravo Weapons Committee, and that was great, man. I really enjoyed being an instructor there.
Nice.
And then came back from there. You kind of left kicking and screaming to a point, but then you get there, and then like working with the guys, the future 18 Bravos, I really enjoyed it. I love tactics. I love planning. So I really got to hone my skills on that. And by the time I came back to be ready to be a team sergeant, I was the assistant team sergeant, and then picked up 8. And the guys that are military that are listening to this, like, don't sleep on some of these things that you don't want to do is going to groom you for that next position, and you will be way better at your job.
Yeah.
So I came back and I was ready to crush it as a team sergeant.
Nice.
So did the team sergeant time, finished that up, and then from my team sergeant time, I went to be a first sergeant over at 1st Special Forces Command, and that prepared me to be a civilian. That job did. So a lot of lessons learned there, and then came back and did my sergeant major time.
Nice.
And then retired out of there.
Nice, dude.
Yeah.
So to back it up, you're a Green Beret. You've deployed, I don't know how many times. We've talked a lot. And you're not somebody you're a very humble guy. And you're not somebody that really likes to talk war stories.
Yeah.
I think you're open with me about it, but I've noticed, like, on other platforms and outwardly, you don't really do a lot of that. And and privately, you've told me why.
Yeah.
And that's because in some of these scenarios, people got hurt and killed or worse. So the fact that you don't share some of that stuff, sometimes I completely respect why. But there was a story that you told me that I think we could talk about.
Yeah. So exactly what you said. There's nothing wrong. I'm not beating anybody up that tells war stories.
Sure.
Right. And I think there's a time and a place for them too. For me personally, I just want to make sure that I'm honoring the guys that served.
Yeah.
A lot of these guys that, like, I tell these war stories about, or tell a war story, is they did the exact same shit that I did. I'm just here talking about it. So I'd never want to make it all about me, right? I want to honor the guys that I served with. I want to honor the guys that fell during that time frame. So, for a while, I was like, well, how do I do that? Right? Because some of these stories, or even talking about this, you can very easily make it about you.
Yeah.
Right? And even if it's your story, like, still trying to honor those guys,
Yeah.
And then I got burnt one time, I was telling you about, which pissed me off like royalty, right? So we did a speaking event, the ODA did. This was some years back. I was still a company sergeant major at that time. And we go there, and actually, that's what I was telling you about, Jocko was there. So Jocko spoke first, and then we spoke second. And that was back when you're still active duty. And so I had a chance to meet Jocko, but I'm like, I told you, I was like, fuck this dude. Not because he's a bad guy, but because that's the mentality
Yeah.
when you're active duty and we're about like all these military influencers. Like somebody's looking at me now and saying, screw that dude.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? And it is what it is, right? Because at the time, all I'm thinking about is team life, like getting after it and everything else, right? That's just kind of just putting you in the mindset that I was at right there, right? So we get up there, and after he was done, we go up there on stage and we start telling, kind of telling the story about a Chinook that was shot down in a 2007 trip that we were at, right? So in 2007, we were in Kajaki Sofla, and we're doing a clearing operation there, and the 82nd was coming in, and they were dropping off troops on the other side of the Helmand River to clear on the opposite side. So we came out dismounted. We did our clearing operations. We were troops in contact pretty much that whole day. And when I talk about troops in contact, I'm talking about RPGs, PKMs, recoilless rifles. Like that was a daily occurrence. You know what I mean? Because I was we were in the Helmand province at Far Robertson. Yeah, so we're banging and singing.
The place was badass.
Yeah, you were banging and singing there if you know what that is, right? So we had the tactical advantage pretty much the whole time there, and 182nd guy took a round to the leg, but he actually wasn't that bad on our side, and he was like, "Hey, I'm good," so we kept him there the rest of the time, right? So we didn't even medevac him out. He stayed there and it was troops in contact. He was a trooper, man.
That's fucking
he was pretty gangster, right? So
right.
he's like, "Nah, I'm good." He's like, "Hey, we want to stay." We're like, "All right," so we let him stay there, right? So
good for him.
yeah, so we let him stay, and then and like we were troops in contact pretty much that whole day. Got quite a few KIAs, and then come nightfall, the 82nd was infilling on the other side of the Helmand River. And man, I remember it. It was probably maybe a few hundred meters from like our location.
Yeah.
Right. It was at night, right at nightfall, and all I seen was this huge like ball of flames, man. The bird got hit, which from what I seen, I think it was an RPG. Later on, they thought it was something else. But the Chinook was shot down on our side of the Helmand River, right? And at first, like we didn't know, did they already let the guys off on the other side? Like we don't know how many bodies were getting ready to come over there to recover, right?
Yeah, because you had to go right to it, right?
Yeah, we had to go right to it
side
because it was on our side. It was like a few hundred meters from our location, and so we're telling this story on stage, like as it's going on, right? And so it was a few hundred meters from our location. We start moving to the crash site. One of the 82nd trucks got hit, right? We're getting heavy troops in contact. The JTAC is like laying waste the whole time, as we get there. We get to the crash site. We go to dismount. We clear through the crash site, and then we secure the crash site. And at this point, now a bird shot down. So like now, normally, guys that's been in combat will know, like normally as soon as the night comes, we control the skies, and they really don't come out. You know what I mean?
Right.
This was a whole different story. Like now they have their jihad on, and now everybody and their mother is.
They stayed fighting at night.
Oh yeah, they stayed and started rushing the crash site.
Yeah. Usually they do back off because
they back off because we own the night. Yeah.
Yeah.
But like
everything.
At this point, like we secured the crash site, and they're just like coming after us, So like I don't remember how many birds that JTAC Winchester that night.
Damn.
Right, and then so we sat on the crash site, and then we pulled all of the passengers like out from that site. And at first we sat there for a while because they didn't know how many guys were on the bird. They're trying to figure out if they let the guys off on the other side. But it was rough. That pulling guys out of that wreckage, was different than like the realities of war, like kind of like kick in, and then you're like, oh, we're not always, on the winning side sometimes,
Yeah, absolutely. And for myself, I say it all the time. The hardest thing I ever had to do was pull out Afghan soldiers that had been just demolished.
Yeah.
And pulling out body parts. And
yeah.
For me, that was way harder than getting shot at and hitting IEDs, anything else. Like to be moving dead bodies is such an unnatural thing to do. And that's just, yeah, for me, that was the toughest. And I know exactly.
Yeah.
I never had to do it for Americans, thankfully. But the Afghan guys, counterparts that were blown to shit. Like,
Yeah.
That's crazy, man. Yeah.
So, long story short, we cleared that crash site, but we're explaining all this on stage, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So we're on stage here talking about talking about this specific operation. We're done, and there's a reporter that was supposed to be on this bird before it got shot down.
Mm-hmm.
Who
And she
kind of
was
set
there
this
when
up.
you were explaining
She
it?
was there when we were explaining all this, right?
Gotcha.
She's the one that kind of set all this up.
Yep.
Right. So she comes out. So that's where, like, so she supposed to should be on that bird, and then something happened. I can't remember exactly what happened,
Mm-hmm.
but they didn't have enough room for her, so she didn't get on this bird. So she would have been one of those passengers there,
Damn.
killed with everybody else, right? From my understanding, right? So we finished speaking on stage, and then we go to another area where she has cameras out, right? And the whole team's sitting here talking, and then she starts asking us questions, right? And, I'm still active at this time,
Yeah.
right? The only reason why I went, it was because we had other guys that are going. I'm like, okay, I think it's cool. And there is some therapeutic, like, talking about this stuff,
Yeah.
right? There's some therapeutic stuff that goes on with that. And I'm like, all right, yeah, I went. I didn't really do a whole lot of talking. So anyway, she asked me some direct questions. She's like, well, hey, what was it like pulling the bodies out of the crash site? And I'm like, well, it was tough. I'm being very, very discernment whenever I'm talking. Mm-hmm. And she goes, well, what kind of condition were they in? She's trying to get, like, on graphic. And I go, listen, I said, I'm not going to talk about that because that's somebody's husband and that's somebody's father. Like, there's one thing about talking about it whenever people don't know exactly who you're talking about.
Yeah.
Right? Oh, yeah, I did X, Y, and Z. This is what they look like. And nobody can relate the specific person. I'm not talking about Denny. I'm talking about a guy.
Yeah.
But when you can take a specific named operation and now I can talk about what your state was and somebody's son, daughter, wife, or mother, father can listen to it and see what you're talking about, like, I'm not going to put that person through that again, right? That's not my decision to do that. So I'm like, no, I said I don't want to talk about that, whatever. And she's like, well, some of the other guys did. I don't give a shit. I'm not talking about it, and I'm getting pissed,
Yeah.
Like, now I'm just like, I'm not playing around anymore. Like, I'm letting you know. And then, like, some Jerry Springer shit, one of the wives from one of the husbands that was in the crash site that was killed comes out from the another room. Yeah. Like, so she's like setting me up to start talking about this shit.
Yeah.
To get some clickbait for this wife to come out here and, like, to get this kind of an emotion. And I was pissed.
Yeah.
So I'm done. I got up, I left, and I went over there and talked to the wife, and then we went in the other room. They continued rolling, and I just stayed with the wife and the kids there for the rest of the night.
Wow.
But, like, that was kind of one of those things. I'm like, there's one thing about telling a story because you're trying to, like, honor something and everything else. It's another thing to, like, just get some fucking clickbait for your shit. You know what I mean? And then their parents. So I wasn't cool with it. I was pissed off about it. And it kind of put a really bad taste in my mouth. And being that guy who's active, you see guys telling war stories online. There's times where I'm like, not that it's bad, it's just not me, right?
Sure.
I don't mind telling war stories and that. I just want to make sure I'm honoring the guys with me. Because there's guys that all those dudes who were with me did the exact same shit that I did.
Yeah.
So giving those guys credit is very important.
Yeah. And, it should be. That should be at the forefront of, 20 years of war, trying to honor and remember the guys that we're lucky to be here. Because a lot of people aren't. So
exactly.
So you're out of the military now.
Yep.
You're out. You retired maybe a year ago? Almost a year ago?
Yeah, right at a year.
Okay.
Right, almost a year. So I retired in April. Yeah, April.
Yep.
Of last year.
One of the things that you and I have talked about a lot over the last few days that we spent together is like mental health. We've talked about it from the perspective of just childhood trauma. We've talked about it from the perspective of the military. I know for you, your lowest point was 2020. I'm not going to tell that. I'll let you tell it, but talk about just some of the struggles that you've had. how you got back, who helped you through it, and because I know you've been through some tough shit. And
Yeah. So for me, I think chasing adrenaline and chasing like SF and being a Green Beret, I had this warrior kind of mindset, and I just taught myself that over and over again. I was really big in stoicism, controlling your emotions. You have to do it in combat, and I loved. There's guys, you need guys that are like that, right? Try not to glorify it to a point, right? But you need guys that are out there that are going to get after it, that are going to put their lives on the line, that are going to put other people's lives above their own, But in 2020, COVID, we were coming back. It was me and my wife's 20th anniversary. We were just coming back from Hawaii. She wanted to go to Maui she wanted to go for like years.
Yeah.
Like years. And I'm like, we're in Florida. Like, why would I leave the beach here to go to the beach in Maui when it costs more, right?
Yeah.
But eventually, it was like, it's a 20th anniversary, so we go to Maui. This was February of 2020, and like COVID hit like right after
Right
that.
at that time, yeah.
Right after that, right? So we get back from there, and then Mother's Day came around, and I get a call, man. I'm on my way to work. I just took over as a company sergeant major, and I get a call that our son was in a motorcycle wreck. And
on Mother's Day?
No, it was like a couple of days after that.
Okay.
But Mother's Day was the last day we seen him.
Oh, gotcha. Gotcha.
So, so I'm like, this gut like instinct, like something's not, like, you know what I mean? Something was bad, And then, so we go. I start going towards the hospital that we were supposed to be going, that they said they were taking him to. I get to the hospital. My wife ends up meeting me there in the hospital, and this was when COVID lockdown happened, and they stopped all surgeries or all procedures. So the only time you'd even get in the hospital was for like a if you had an emergency, right? And they weren't letting us in the hospital. So Jake's inside the hospital, and there was a cop outside. There was a cop and a nurse, and they're like, we're not letting you inside. And I'm like, bullshit, you're not letting me inside. I said, you're going to arrest me or I'm going inside, right? So he's like, hey, if you go inside, you're getting arrested. So, like, it was at the point where now I'm about ready to get in an altercation with a law enforcement officer because I'm like, I'm going inside to see the status of my son. And so luckily, not like maybe 10 seconds after that, a nurse comes out and is like, hey, y'all can come inside, right? So they let us inside. So we go inside and we're sitting there waiting, and then one of the doctors come out and was like, he didn't make it, And it took me. When I say that, it took me almost 4 years before I could even tell this story, and this has been almost like 5 years ago.
Sure.
So yeah, so I mean, it was very, it was tough, and then like when something like that happens, like you put yourself in that situation at that time, and every time I tell that story, even talking about it, like I go back to like that instant that it happened, and it's tough to even kind of relive like thinking about it, So I went back there to see him, and man, it was the hardest thing, we talked about it before. It's like, you deal with all this trauma, you deal with like seeing death your whole life. And I turned very cold towards it because it came with the job. Like, you knew that. Like, if I was killed, I didn't expect you on my team to, like, there's jobs still got to go on. You're still going on operations tomorrow.
Right.
Right? You can't lose your composure because it's going to put your life in risk.
Yeah.
Like, that's what people don't understand. Like, a soldier does not have time to deal with fucking grief.
Right.
You don't have time. Right? You have to, like, because, like, Your best friend in the world can get killed in front of you. The next day, you're going on combat operations.
Yeah. It doesn't stop. The
It
war
doesn't stop. The war doesn't stop. It continues on going. So you don't know how to process grief because you have to continue on dealing with this over and over and over and over again. And this like happened to us, and I'm like, I don't even know how to process this. I don't even know what to do because I go back to what I've learned for the last 40 some plus years. It's like you put that shit to the side and you keep driving forward, and then you're like, I'll deal with it whenever it comes to a point where I want to put a gun in my head. Like that's how you deal with trauma, you know?
It's a learned behavior for sure to take trauma and just stuff it.
Yep.
Stuff it down, don't deal with it. Whether it's from childhood, whether it's from combat, whether it doesn't matter where it's from. It's a learned behavior, and it's something that you, when exposed to it enough, you get really fucking good at it.
You get hugely good at it.
Yeah.
And that's why guys are like, oh, I don't understand how these, like, you know, guys that are at the highest level or peak of their performance are killing themselves. Because they got very good at not letting you see what they're dealing with. They got very good at carrying weight of grief and trauma and everything else and not letting the world see everything that they're dealing with. Yeah. Because the reality of it is nobody wants to fucking hear about your problems and your issues and everything else. There's nothing in society that states, hey, listen, it's okay for you to be vulnerable and deal with this.
Yeah.
Right? So we're getting a lot better at it, I think, than what we used to be probably 5-10 years ago. And there's no shame in it. But there's still some of the old school guys that do not want to be vulnerable and do not want to open up and say, hey, this is where I'm at. So I think it's very important to guys that are willing to do that, to be open and say, hey, listen, I dealt with it. Like I dealt with depression. I dealt with PTSD. I dealt with like not feeling like getting up the next day. You know what I mean? I have good days. I have bad days, you know?
Yeah, man, I still, even though I feel like for the most part, I function at a pretty high level, I still have days or strings of days where I'm like, what's the fucking point?
Yeah.
You know, even now. Like, I told you, like, recently I've just been in this, like, funk. And I go through this shit, and it's like the internet makes everything look great. But it's like, no. Back up. Like, we're still regular fucking dudes, and, like, the shit doesn't go away ever.
No.
Even when you put the work in, like, I'll be good for months, several months, and then there it is again.
This is what people don't understand is even though you're putting in the work to do it, there's certain things that you don't go through in life that think that are not going to have days that are going to affect you. I cannot. I've been in a lot of combat, and I'm not trying to like put. You cannot deal with that type of trauma or that type of combat focus. I was a savage. I went straight psychopath at times.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So I was in kinetic operations. So saying this is whatever. I took a lot of lives, right? And that's something that never really bothered me until, like, you start kind of thinking about it. I don't think it really still, to me at that time, it was part of the job. So it was just part of the job.
Sure.
It really wasn't. I was pretty good at it. I didn't have a lot of problem with it, right? It sounds very cold-hearted. It sounds messed up, but it's part of the job.
Sure.
You can't sit there and think about it. You know, you're probably being pretty stoic about it. But then you lose guys, right? Then you lose for losing your son. Like, you think, like, that's not going to affect you.
Yeah.
Like, even no matter how much work that I do, there's still times where I'm like, man, it's still hard. And I got to force myself to do things that are very difficult. And I have days where it's like, man, like that comes back and you're just like, man.
And when you're administering that pain, it's like you're winning.
Yeah.
But then you start to feel it on your side and you're like, now I feel like I'm losing.
Oh.
And now I feel like I could crumble myself at any point. And that's literally, that's figuratively. It's a trauma's it's a tricky thing, man.
Yeah. So whenever we ended up during COVID at this time, they were not going to let us have a funeral for him because of COVID. So we couldn't find a funeral home that would do a service for him.
Okay.
So that was rough. And my wife's like, I want to have a funeral for him. I want to be able to have a funeral. I want to see him. I want his friends to be able to see him before that. So, like, I was going to, like, funeral homes to funeral homes. And finally, we got to a funeral home that was like thinking that they would possibly do it.
Mm-hmm.
And then they started kind of going back on it. They're like, I don't know, and then because my wife wanted to have a funeral like people would come. And I'm like, listen, man, I will have every Green Beret that I know out here.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you want people to be 5 feet away, I will make sure there's somebody here to make sure they're 5 feet away. Whatever you need to wherever you feel safe to do this, we're going to make this happen, Finally, they kind of pulled back on it, and we had a full funeral, no mass, no nothing. It was just straight full funeral, So that was good. But we talk about grief at that point. Like, me and my wife went back to work. I remember planning for the funeral, doing the funeral, and I was probably back at work a week.
Yeah.
Like, not enough time.
Right. Yeah.
But, like, me and my wife were talking. I'm like, I don't know what to do. I think sometimes, I think a lot of people deal with grief by just staying busy.
Yeah.
Ignoring it.
Mm-hmm. Definitely ignoring it and pushing it down.
Ignoring it, pushing it down, and then just trying to stay busy on something else.
Yep.
And I did that for a long, long time. Long time. Which they don't do a really good job of, like, teaching you, especially in the military and anywhere else. There's no time to deal with grief and trauma while you're in combat.
Mm-hmm.
But there's also no way to, like, unpack that shit whenever you get back and be like, all right, hey, let's unpack this so you're at full speed by the time you deploy again. Yeah. It just can.
That's just now starting to work its way into the military's, process, right? If you think about it just in the most basic terms, the function of our military is for them to train us to go fight and win our nation's wars.
Yeah.
The end.
Yeah.
What they do next, it's like the VA can handle that, right? I think they're getting better at that. I think they're starting to take more of the wellness stuff more seriously. But for how long did that take? 15, 17, 18 years before they finally started to say, wait a second, like, we might have to start thinking about treating these guys as they start to transition out.
Yeah, it's true. But part of it is there's some I'll think there's some self-responsibility there too.
Oh, absolutely.
Because there's times, like, so I had went to a therapist after that. I think I was probably I don't remember how long I was in seeing a therapist. And they're like, hey, let me talk about your son. I'm like, nope. So it doesn't matter where you go if you're not going to talk about it, because I did not want to unpack it. I did not want to have to sit there and deal with it. So if you're not willing to unpack it, it doesn't matter where you're at.
Absolutely. I've been in therapy since I was 5 years old, on and off, right? And I can remember as a kid, or even as a teenager, just sitting there in therapy. So, Danny, how was your day today? Good. What do you want to talk about? Nothing. I didn't talk about shit. I would sit there for an hour, and then the therapist would come out and tell my aunt, like, he didn't say anything for an hour. I can't get anything out of him. And that's on me, right? For not wanting to do that. I mean, especially, like, I do it as an adult now. I'm like, no, I don't want to talk about this shit. I run from certain things. Not so much now, but for up until recently I did. It's like you said it earlier, like talking about your son, it's like you're reliving it. And I went through that just recently writing my book. It's like I had to stop writing it and typing it at times because I'm just fucking spent emotionally. You know what I mean? One time I didn't even realize I'm fucking crying. Like, you relive this shit as you talk about it, whether it's with a therapist, whether you're writing it down or sharing it with a friend. Like, fucking wild, man. Yeah. It's wild. But to your point, it is a personal responsibility thing to a degree, a strong degree, I guess.
Yeah, I think it is. It is quite a little bit because it's tough. It's easier said than done, right? Because by doing that, like, you have to be vulnerable and you have to break some things down and be truthful with your things, some of your inner self that you may not want to.
Yeah.
Yeah. But because as a man, you're taught to be strong, like, all the time.
Yeah.
Right. And then there's nothing wrong with, like, I don't think there's nothing wrong with compartmentalizing emotions, controlling them, but it doesn't mean that you still can't. You still have to unpack what happened at some point, right? And be like, okay, this is what happened or whatever. I say that, I still suck at it.
Yeah.
I suck at it.
Same, dude.
I suck at it. I'm like, yeah,
And
I'm
that's,
good.
And that's where emotional regulation comes in. And you were here yesterday when Nick Lavery was here, and we talked a lot about emotional regulation and being able to, yeah, you're going to compartmentalize things, but just being in control of your emotions and being able to, not be reactive and, all of those things is just, that's important. But you touched on something real quick there that I think we're getting better, just like in terms of, or I feel better about like just the community of guys that I'm now surrounded with, yourself, George, Nick, Seth, and like all these guys that really seem to have each other's backs. You know what I mean? Like I feel like, I got you I can call anytime. I got George, I got Seth, I got Nick, I got, my buddy Mike. This is probably the first time I've really felt like I have like this nucleus of people that genuinely care and that I can genuinely go to. So I think your circle and who you surround yourself with, especially now that you're post-military, post-retired, you're retired now. You don't have that group. You're not in that fighting mode. Like now, that's what you have. You have that community, and I think that's important.
Yeah, I think that's hugely important. I think a lot of times I look back that I was thinking about that today. It's like, I think as a kid, especially in my like teen time frame, I think the reason why I acted out the way I did and how a lot of that stuff kind of went where it is, because I really didn't really feel like anybody gave a shit about me.
Yeah.
So like I was at a point where it's like, if nobody cares about me, then I ain't gonna care about anybody else. I'm just gonna do it my way.
Yeah.
And that was not constructive at all. It was everything was very destructive, everything. So, and I think a part of that kind of stays with you, like even now as an adult, like we talked about it. Like I can be very hard on other people. It's like trying not to judge people because that's difficult for me.
Yeah.
Especially being around a lot of high achievers, high performers, and that, because you're just like, I don't know, it's tough.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and for me, where I fall, the trap that I fall into is like self-worth and value, right? Like, so I start to think less of myself, even though people are telling me good things and whatever. It's like I don't believe it myself sometimes, and that's where sometimes that shit creeps in too.
Yeah, I think that's both a response to like not feeling like anybody gave a shit about you.
Yeah, definitely.
It's one way or the other.
And that's from a broken childhood is feeling like, nobody else gave a shit about me. Why should I give a shit about myself?
Yeah.
And you don't realize it. I still, it makes me so angry that like I still feel as shit at 42 years old.
Yeah.
But.
That's crazy how, so the same trauma, I think the same trauma response, or the same thing, but you kind of go through it different ways. Mm-hmm. Because I didn't internalize it that way. I internalized it outwards.
Sure.
Because I didn't feel like nobody gave a shit about me. I didn't give a shit about anybody else.
Yeah.
I was just like, screw it. It's just me against the world then.
Yeah.
Like kind of that's how I internalized it. Mm-hmm. And that was my defense mechanism.
I think I did both.
Yeah. You're probably at both times, depending on where you're at. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Seasons or whatever.
Yeah.
And that's, kind of say the hard thing. Sometimes it's very difficult to build relationships because of that.
Oh, dude.
With anybody, it doesn't matter.
I'm just the worst partner, when it comes to that. I'm still talking about that shit in therapy. Like, how can I be a good husband again? Like, how could I be in a good relationship again? It's like, man, working on it though.
Yeah.
But talk to me. We'll finish up with, what are you doing now?
So when I got out, so I started doing coaching and consulting.
Yeah.
Right. Trying to get in the speaking realm there, which I really enjoyed. Really enjoy that. Really enjoy the leadership and the culture and the discipline of what I did in the military. And then truthfully just serving and helping other people, man. Like that's kind of where I kind of looked at myself and some of the things that I went through. And I wish I would have had somebody there to help me through like those low points. Yeah. And then just everything I learned throughout the military, man. That's what I enjoyed doing.
Well, I know actually that you're a great coach. For those guys listening or girls listening, Terry does all of my programming, my nutrition. And what, six weeks? I think I went down 19 pounds, 20
Oh, yeah.
pounds. I went from about 200 to 180 and lean. And it was definitely due to the programming. And, people don't know where to start sometimes. And the way to start is with a coach. And I've been working out for 25 years. If I can use a coach and somebody to help me with nutrition, I think anyone should be, willing to do that. So just a little help. If I can help by saying that, I think, you're spot on as a coach. I think you're doing great work.
Yeah, thanks. Appreciate it, man. Biggest thing is like trying to help other people kind of get where they're at. And obviously, like, kind of we talked about it before, like fitness and nutrition is a foundation. It is one of the pillars that I think that you should have, because if you're going to, not just for externally, but like if you feel good, like you look good, you're going to be able to perform better.
Sure.
That's like undeniable.
Yeah.
Then on top of that is you're adding probably 10 years of your life by just being physically fit,
Yeah, definitely.
And we walked out, we were down in Nashville and just talked about it. Not trying to judge everybody, but I'm walking around and I'm like, I'm 45. I'm like, there should be 25-year-old kids be way better shape than I am.
Yeah, dude.
And it doesn't take a whole lot. So this is one thing, there's this false mindset that it takes so much work to do. It's not. Like, I got clients that work out 3 days a week, get 10,000 steps a day, and are lean and crushing it, and barely do much of anything. But they stay regimented. They know what they want to do, and they're just maintaining where they're at.
Yeah.
Now, don't get me wrong. If you spent 5 years of eating garbage, that's not happening overnight.
Sure.
You're going to take you years to get back there.
Yeah.
But once you get there, you know what you need to do. Then you can maintain it.
Absolutely.
So
absolutely. Is there anything else you want to talk about?
I don't get, man. I got a lot of stories, but
just because I don't like to go too long, I like to go about an hour.
I think an hour is good.
But man, I just want to say thank you for not just being here, but for just being a great friend, man. The last 6 months or so, we've gotten, I think, a lot closer, talking on the phone, getting to really know each other. Spent the last 3 days together, and I just appreciate your friendship.
Yeah, thanks,
appreciate
man.
You.
It was good, man.
Thanks, man.
Same.
Appreciate it.
Awesome.
All right, there you have it, Terry Wilson, and you'll be seeing him soon. He's doing big things. Thanks, guys.